more and more, more and more. Somebody recognizes their need for the Lord. Come on, just your hands and you know there's your need. Hallelujah. I can't do this thing without you, Lord. I tried it, it doesn't work without you, Lord. I tried it, it doesn't work without you, Lord. Hallelujah. More and more. I recognize that I need you, that I need you. Yes, I need you, Lord. More and more. Every time I try to do it by myself, I make a mess, but I need you, Lord. I need you. More and more. I'm lying that I need you in every situation, Jesus. Hallelujah. More and more. Whether it's trouble, whether it's trials, whether it's sickness, whether it's health, Lord, I need you, Lord. More and more. I can't be in trouble without you, Jesus. Lord, I need you more. More and somebody ought to just cry out to God right now. Standing on your feet and say, Lord, I need you. Come on, just stand on your feet and say, Lord, I need you. Lord, I need you. Lord, I need you. Lord, I need you. Lord, we need you. We need you. We need you. We need you. I know it's a push this morning, but I just want you to push your hands up in the air and just begin to tell God how much you need Him, how much you need His presence, how much you need His direction, how much you need His peace, how much you need His love, how much you need His guidance, how much you need His protection. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, but I fear no evil because the Lord is with me. His rod and His staff, they comfort me. They prepare a table in the presence of my enemies. Hey, I can walk among my enemies because the Lord is with me. The Lord is with me. He's my shield. He's my staff. He's my God. Come on, somebody just needs to walk. Come on, just begin to walk. Come on, just begin to walk. Just begin to walk. The know that the Lord is with you when you're walking. Hallelujah. He walks beside me. He is my friend. Hey, He walks beside me. He walks beside me. He's my friend. He's with you. Go ahead and tell somebody you're not alone. You're not alone. Never alone. Never alone. You're not walking this thing by yourself. Hallelujah. You're not walking by yourself. You're not walking by yourself. You're not walking by yourself. You're not walking by yourself because the Lord is with you. It's is here. The King is here. Come on, just lean over somebody and tell them you got the King on your side. The King is on your side. I'm not walking by myself. He walks beside me. I'm walking with him. And if you look back and you see only one set of footprints, those are the times where he carried me. Hey, hallelujah. Sometimes he walks with me and sometimes he carries me through. Hallelujah. I've been carried by the Lord. Woo! Hallelujah. Sometimes you need to be carried. Sometimes you need to be carried. Hallelujah. Somebody ought to praise him for picking you up and carrying you through dangerous journeys. Enemies everywhere. Wolves everywhere. Hey, but he walks beside me. And in those places where I can't walk, he carries me. Tell somebody, he carries me. It's not me. You saw me. You thought I went through that. God carried me through. So I want him more and more and more. I want him more and more. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. Nothing else will do. I need him. I need him in this situation. I need him. Somebody say, I need him. I need him. I need God. All I want is God to show up for me like he has before. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Like he has before. We were singing this song on last week. There's nothing else better than having God with you. Hallelujah. Nothing else than him walking beside you and just being in his presence, being lost in his presence, just being able to sit at his feet. Hallelujah. And get instructions and get guidance and get strength. Sometimes when you're in his presence, you can't even talk. You're not talking because you don't even know what to say. But that's the time when you just sit at his feet and you just get strength for the journey. Hallelujah. Somebody needs strength for the journey today. Come on, just begin to worship him right now. Just worship him right now. Hallelujah. 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 I'm caught up in your presence. I just want to sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never want to leave. I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything. More than anything that I need. I just want you. Caught up in your presence. Just want to sit here. I just want to sit here at your feet. Caught up in this holy moment. I never want to leave. I never want to leave. I'm not here for blessings. I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you don't owe me anything. Jesus, you don't owe me anything. More than anything. More than anything that you can. I just want you. I just want you. I just want you, nothing else, nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you, nothing else, nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else, nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you. I'm sorry when I've just gone through the motions. I'm sorry when I sing another song. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. Say I'm sorry. I'm sorry when I've just gone through the motions. I'm sorry when I sing another song. When I sing another song, take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. One more time. Say I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. When I've just gone through the motions. I'm sorry. When I sing another song, take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. Yeah. Caught up in your presence. I just want to sit here. I just want to sit here at your feet. Caught up in this holy moment. I can't believe no one. I'm not here for blessings. I'm not here for blessings. Jesus, you hold me. Jesus, you will hold me in. More than anything that you can do. I just want you. I want to begin to tell the Lord, I just want you. I just want you. Nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Come on. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Hey. Nothing else. Nothing else will do. I just want you. Lord, nothing else will do. I just want you. Nothing else will do. I just want nothing else. Nothing else. Nothing else. He's the only one that can break the chains. He's the only one that can bring deliverance. Hallelujah. We want him here so he can break every chain. Hallelujah. Come on, somebody just ask the Lord, break every chain. Destroy the yoke because of your anointing. Just begin to destroy the yoke. I want you to get a situation in your mind. I want you to begin to declare, Lord, you will break every chain. Lord, you will destroy the yokes of the people in my life, oh God, my own life, oh God. Sickness and poverty must cease. The devil is defeated. We cast down every stronghold. Sickness and poverty must cease. We will not live in poverty. We will not live in poverty. We will not live in lack. We come against the spirit of lack in the name of Jesus. We have more than enough. Hallelujah. Somebody declare, I will have more than enough. Do I have anybody that will give a praise to their God in advance? That, Lord, I will have more than enough. These trials will not overtake me. Hallelujah. I will be the blesser. I will be the lender. And my season for borrowing is coming to an end. Hallelujah. Somebody ought to declare it in the name of Jesus. Hallelujah. We got a hallelujah praise. Anybody got a hallelujah praise down in their belly? Just thankful. Just thankful. Just grateful. Hallelujah. I want to shout hallelujah. I know he's going to do it for me. I know he's going to do it. And you're going to see it. I declare it in the name of Jesus. Above the heaven, the Lord is high above the heaven, and His glory above the nation. And His glory above. You know the Lord is high above the heaven. The Lord is high above the heaven, and His glory above the nation. And His glory above the nation. So give God the highest praise, acknowledging Him holy. And all the people say, Halle, 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 Halle. Hallelujah. The Lord is high above the heaven. The Lord is high above the heaven. And His glory above the nation. And His glory above the nation. Hallelujah. 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 The Lord is high above the heaven. The Lord is high above the heaven. And His glory above. And His glory above the nation. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. So give God the highest praise, acknowledging Him always. And all the people say, Halle, 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 Hallelujah. Oh,
him the highest praise. Let's give him the highest praise. Hallelujah. Just let the music minister to you. Let the Spirit of God just begin to saturate your spirit and your mindset. Because God is up to something. There is a rhythm that God gets into that He moves, orchestrates His plans. The writer said there's a wind of the anointing that God rides on every wave. Grab me by the hand. I've come to set the captives free. If you've been in bondage or in a yoke, you're in the right place this morning. I've come to set the captives free. No weapon formed against you shall be able to prosper. And every tongue that will rise against you, God declares, I'll put it down. I'll judge it with the right hand of my own judgment. I'll destroy it till it will not burn. Oh God. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Father, we thank you for great is thy faithfulness unto your people. Thank you for breaking forth in the atmosphere and setting us up for a blessing. God, thank you for moving the mountain that was in front of us. It was not changing our destiny. it was just blocking our view. But God, we thank you and that the mountain has been removed. Or you've given us sight to see around the corner. But I can now see what God has been up to. I can now see the hand of God. Oh, I thank you for working when I didn't see you working. Thank you for moving when I couldn't understand why I was going through what I had to go through. Thank you, oh God, for being consistent, persistent, working on my behalf. God, we just want to say thank you. Now move us, position us to a place of greater understanding. See your word and destroy the works of darkness. In Jesus' name. Amen. Put those hands together in your mouth and pray. As I stood there on the side worshiping God, I heard the Spirit say to me, He said, you have to act as a curator today. The assignment of a curator in museum terms is to understand what's in the house and then to make sure that it's brought forth at the right time. God says, I want you to act as a curator this morning. I want you to unshackle my people this morning.
Hallelujah, Jesus.
I want you to give them the answer to some of the issues that they've been going on in their life so they have a greater understanding. Because in all of my getting understanding, when I understand what it's about. Sometimes we engage in the battle, but you don't understand what the battle's about, so you don't give proper attention to it. But when you understand what the battle is about, you recognize that there's a power and a reason behind it. Engage differently when you understand. I tell you, David, today you will get understanding. And my assignment is to unlock or to release the gift that's already in you. Hallelujah. Some of you have been fighting and engaging in serious levels of warfare. You're trying to figure out whether or not you're going to make it through this thing. You're trying to figure out whether or not God chose the right person, made the right choice. And I just got to tell you, God never made a mistake. Just listen to somebody tell you, you got the right one, baby. You got the right one. You got the right one. When He called you, you got the right one. You got the right one. He's putting in you what you need to have. Hallelujah. Let me try to run. Give me the scriptures real quickly, and then we'll try to move swiftly through what I believe God is saying to us this morning. And so here is a scripture, very familiar passage of scripture found in 1 Samuel chapter number 30. We'll be reading 6 verses, I believe. And so you guys have the control in the back. So let's read all together, and then we will get into this morning's message, which deals with the issue of continuing to encourage you to get your fight back. The subtopic in this particular area of getting your fight back is that you got to have an understanding. You got to have the understanding of the position where you are. The understand that God has put something on the inside of you. Hallelujah, Jesus. Tell me that it's inside me, it's in me, it's in me, it's in me. You may struggle with some stuff, but it's in you. Yes. And what's in you really deals with the idea that you have to have the insight or the instincts of a fighter. The instincts of a fighter. Let's read. And it came to pass when David and his men were come to Ziklag, y'all read with me on the third day, that the Amalekites had invaded the south and Ziklag, and smitten Ziklag and burned it with fire. I'll slow down. And had taken the women captive that were therein. They slew not any, either great or small, but carried them away and went on their way. So David and his men, next slide, and behold, it was burned with fire, and their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken captive. And David and the people that were with him lifted up their voices and wept until they had no more power to weep. And David was greatly distressed. Read. For the people spake of stoning him. Because the soul of all the people were grieved. Get that down, because the souls of all the people were grieved. Everybody in the camp with him. They were not just grieved, but their soul was vexed. Read.
Every man with his sons and with sword. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. And David said to Abiathar, my son, I pray thee, bring me hither to Benjamin.
The 6th verse says, but David encouraged himself in the Lord. That's where we're going to end this part 1, 2-part messages. This morning, as we continue to encourage you to get your fight back, it is our efforts to demonstrate you as we peer into the life of David before David became the king of Israel. We find David in what we would call or classify as in his natural habitats, which is really curious to me, to say the least, that this is David's natural habitat. Because David is a fighter, y'all do know that, right? David had the instincts of a fighter. He had the attitude of a fighter. He had the demeanor of a fighter. He had the heart of a fighter, but David didn't look like a fighter. He had the heart of a fighter, the attitude of the fighter, the demeanor of the fighter, and the instincts of a fighter, but David didn't look like a fighter. And I believe that at times in David's life that worked in his favor, because oftentimes folk never saw him coming. They underestimated him, like sometimes folk underestimate you. Maybe they thought David was a joke, but y'all know David was nobody's punk, not by any means of your imagination. David was like the Apostle Peter. He would act first and ask questions later. But he didn't look like him. I wonder if you don't look like who you are. David was courageous. Say it with me, courageous. When you study the life of David, you will come to believe that David was fearless. He wasn't afraid of anything or anyone. And again, I say to you, that's curious to me. Because that's not the type of courage that you usually are born. This kind of courage is usually born out of adversity. It's not courage you just have to have. It's generally because something has happened and transpired, or you're going through a series of things here, and this kind of courage is generally birthed out of your adversity, or it's a gift from God for your survival. So it's curious to me that this is his natural habitat, and he doesn't look like a fighter, but he has the mind, the mentality of a fighter. He has the demeanor of a fighter. And David has this innate ability in him. And so I wonder, when did it happen for David? Because he was not, this is not the norm for a person of David's caliber. You say, why you say that? David was the youngest son of Jesse's 8 sons. That meant David had 7 older brothers. And usually in a situation like that, nobody mess with you because they know you got a whole lineage of folk who are behind you. So they stay away from you because there's too many of y'all. Y'all know, some of y'all got big families. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And so David was the youngest son of 8 sons. And I don't believe David really had to fight a whole lot other than the occasional time when David was being bullied by his brothers. Nobody would mess with him because they knew he had bigger brothers. And the Bible lets us know that 3 of David's older brothers were military men and they had a history of fighting. So when you consider the circumstances of David's life, I know this is taking a little different for you, but this is what about David. When you look at the circumstances of David's life, he's a shepherd boy. So his only encounter with fighting probably was amongst his siblings. But yet he had the instincts of a fighter. How is that possible? I wonder if there's anybody here understand what I'm saying to you this morning. That you're trying to figure out how in the world you made it through some of the stuff you've been making it through and how you fought when you didn't feel like fighting. Is what made you get up. It's because there's some things are instinctively given to you. So I ask myself the question, at what point did this thing come to pass that David had this understanding to be a warrior, but he was skilled. The Bible says, as I further build my case, that David was skilled in the art of music and in worship. The books of Moses, book of Pentateuch, Genesis, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, they talk to us about the art form of worship. Worship as an art form. They talk to us about who is called to lead in worship. It was the tribe of Levi. They held the designation as a family that was set apart, and their exact purpose was to create and cultivate a spirit of worship amongst the people, not just in the building. The Levitical tribe, their job was to create the aspect of worship, and God sanctioned and hallowed that particular group of people to be those who will be in control of the worship to him. The tribe, they were not assigned a place in the land. In other words, they got no inheritance in the land. God said, I am your inheritance. Their job was to maintain the ecclesiastical protocol and to establish and maintain the presence of God amongst the people at all times. They were to establish peace and order and not to engage in matters of war.
My Lord. Wow.
They were the worshipers.
My God.
But yet the Bible declares this one who God called after his own name, who God chose after his own heart. The Bible declares that David, though he was not of the tribe of Levi, David was a worshiper.
Yeah.
He was a worshiper who worshiped God in spirit and in truth. And David played his harp like somebody who had a priestly designation. He played music and worship to God as if he had a ecclesiastical calling upon his life. And if he did, that meant he was to separate himself from the issues of war.
My Lord. Wow.
I gather that because the Bible lets us know that when David played his music, he calmed the very heart of the king. And he caused evil spirits to abandon their assignment. When David worshiped, evil spirits abandoned their assignment and habit of David, who began to minister to God in the building, and the king found peace.
Yes, that's good.
And so you will say to me, that sounds like spiritual warfare. And I would agree with you, but instinctively, that's not the attitude of a fighter.
Right,
David penned things. I'm just building my case. David penned songs of intimacy, worship, like Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restored the soul. Intimacy. Psalm 63. Oh God, thou art my God. Early will I seek thee. For my soul thirsteth for thee. My flesh longeth for thee in a dry and a thirsty land where there is no water. Intimacy. Psalms 8. Oh Lord. Oh Lord. How excellent is thy name in all the earth. Who has set thy glory above the heavens? For out of the mouth of babes and sucklings thou hast ordained strength. When I consider the heavens, the works of thy fingers, the moon and the stars which thou hast ordained, what is man? That thou art mindful, that your mind is full of him, and the Son of Man, that thou visited him. Are we all right? So how did it happen?
Come on.
What happened that turned this worshiper into a warrior? Better yet, how did this worshiper become not only a worshiper, but became a worshiper and a warrior?
That's good.
Tell your neighbor, God did it.
God did it.
God did it. God knows how to change. Hallelujah. What you think is a restriction or a limitation, what you feel like is something that's not working for you, he knows how to incorporate it and to inculcate something so that you become more than what you are appearing to be. That's why David can have the instincts of a warrior and the instincts of a fighter, but not even look like one. Hallelujah. God did it. High five somebody, tell them God did it. God instructed the DNA of David's makeup so that he could understand both our forms of worship and the art form of worship. War and worship. And I believe that is what God has done for many of us here today. That God is teaching us the value of operating in two anointings. God is teaching us the value of operating under a warring mentality or anointing and a worshiper's anointing. And in fact, I believe if you're going to be successful in your walk with the Lord in this day and time, you're going to have to be able to war and worship at the same time. If you're going to be able to succeed in this year, in this decade, in this era, you're going to have to be able to roll your sleeves up and war and let them down and worship. You're going to have to be able to let your hair down and worship and take your shoes off and worship or put your suit on and go. If you're going to be able to do it, you have to learn how to do both of them. Tell your neighbor, both of them. And it's not one to the discredit of the other. The problem sometimes is that sometimes we come together and we feel as though we look around and say, well, that's the worshiper, but I'm a fighter, and so I can't put it. You got to stop. We need worshipers and warriors, worshipers and fighters. We need you both, and we need you to be both at all times. So one does not discredit the other, but there is a delicate balance between worshiping and warfare. There's a balance. And a balance does not mean 50-50.
Right, that's good.
Balance does not necessarily mean equal.
Come on, help us.
But you got to be able to balance it out, whether it's 70 or 30 and 80, 20 and 90, 10. In any direction, from worship to war. But you got to have a balance. You got to be at any time and at all times Clark Kent and Superman at the same time. You just got to know which uniform. You just got to know at all times whether you see my S or not. Don't get it twisted just because you don't see it.
Come on.
Don't get it twisted. Our text in Samuel is a story of David and his mighty men who are returning home from battle. And together, David and his men have secured victory after victory. No challenge was too great. They were simply unstoppable. God had caused them to triumph, and that is curious to me. That's my third curious, just so you know. Because these men followed David, but they were all classified as misfits. God was bringing great deliverance at the hand of misfits. They followed David. They came to David when David himself was hiding in a cave. And they joined ranks with David because they identified with David as someone who was going through a hard time. And David began to lead them and mentor them and pour into them. David began to believe in them when they sometimes didn't believe in themselves. And they forced an unbreakable bond with David. So that wherever David would go, these men would go. And together, somebody say together, they defeated every enemy in their path. They were winning, no question about it. They were a team that everybody wanted to beat, but nobody could. I don't know what you understand about putting together a winning team. But sometimes when you have winning teams, it takes hard work, commitment, time, and sacrifice. Yes. See, some folks want to have a winning team, but they don't want to make the investment. They don't want to spend the time. They don't want to pour into folk here. They just want to have a winning team. But you can't get a winning team like that. It's something like, Sister Sonia, the 1995. That 95-96 era where, you know, the Bulls did the triple threat three-peat here. It's where you have Michael Jordan and Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, Luke Longley, Steve Kerr, and even Horace Grant, who was traded the year before. These guys were unstoppable. They were on the top of the world, B.J. Armstrong. They were living large. They became household names. But how many of you understand greatness has to be tested?
I like that.
You cannot be great and not expect to be challenged or tested. The mere reality of your greatness suggests that you have already gone through some stuff. You have already outlasted some folk and beat some things that should have taken you or could have taken you out. To say you're great already suggests that you've been tempered for the battle.
Come on.
But how many of you know that life can hit you so hard?
Yes.
Until even the stuff you already know, you'll start to question.
Come on, preacher.
Life can hit you so hard that the very things you say I'm good at, you will start second questioning those things. Life can hit you so hard So that what you are confident of, that you boasted about and bragged about and told everybody about who you are, you will start doubting yourself. You will start wrestling with low self-esteem and asking God, did he make a mistake? And why are you going through all this? And you would have been better off like the children of Israel if you stayed in Egypt. That's what's happening in our text. David and his mighty men, they returned home from battle, but they were not received with their normal celebration. See, it's one thing to always be received triumphantly. It's one thing to have folk screaming out your name. One thing to always be celebrated. But what happens when there is no celebration? They came home and there was no celebration. There was no one who greeted them at the door. In fact, there was no door. No one ran to meet them in the street. No one sang their praises. No one gave them a hug or gave them a kiss. But instead, they were greeted with smoke and ashes. Their homes had been burned, baby, burned down to the ground. Somebody burned my she shed. Burned to the ground. Rubble and debris had filled the streets where the enemy had ransacked their homes and ran off with their valuables, including their families. Their wives and their children had been taken. Their personal belongings and artifacts had been stolen. And from the looks of things, they were long gone. The enemy had 72 hours of head start, and it would be impossible to catch them even if they knew the direction to start their pursuit. But what their enemy didn't know is that David had acquired a particular set of skills over a long period. Skills that made him a nightmare for people like them. David had the instincts of a fighter. I don't know if he was born with it or if God simply developed it in him, but either way, God did it. David learned how to win. He learned that hard times and disappointments will come. Question is, what do you do when they come? How do you respond? Some people fold, and we see you at your worst. Some people rise, and we see you at your best. Ask your neighbor, which one are you? Do you fold and we see you at your worst, or do you rise and we see you at your best? David was a conqueror. He was a victor. He was an overcomer. God had placed it in his DNA. God's promise was upon his life. It was the same promise God made to Abraham. And that same promise that he made to Abraham applied to David. And that same promise that provided to David provides for you. Abraham's promise applied to David. Abraham's promise applies to you. Tell your neighbor, I'm overcome. God said to Abraham, look, I will bless your coming out. I will bless your coming in. I will bless your uprising and your down sitting. I will bless your house, your business, and your adventures. I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. Y'all don't hit me. I will set my light upon you so that all the world will see and know that you are blessed by the best. David tapped into God's promise. He walked in his destiny and he did not allow fear to trap him.
Hallelujah.
Nudge your neighbor, nudge. Say, get out of that fear thing. Get out of it. David did not allow fear to trap him. That's how David fought the lion
Come on.
and got the victory.
Yes.
That's how David went up against a bear and snatched the cub out of the bear's clutches and prevailed against him. It's because David tapped into the promises of God. And David had a fighter's instinct. I need you for a moment, just think about you. I need you for a moment to see if you got a fighter's instinct. I tend to believe that you do, but maybe you don't know that you do. And so my job this morning is to awaken the instinct that's in you, the fighter that's in you. The other folk failed and other folk gave up, but you kept pressing. That's only because you have a fighter's instinct on the inside. Put your hand up. You got a fighter's instinct. Fighters, put your hand up. All right. I see half of y'all. Folk who are not fighters, put your hand up if you ain't a fighter. I need to identify you. I need to get you some help. Praise God. Hallelujah. David had a fighter's instinct. He had that same fighter's instinct when he went up against Goliath. And everybody else was shrieking back. David was pushing forward. While others were finding excuses why not to, David was making an explanation why we should.
Hallelujah.
But at this moment, say at this moment. See, I understand life is life, so life comes apart sometimes. But at this moment, on this day, the wind has been knocked out of David's sail. On this day. David and those who were with him were disappointed. They were disillusioned. They were disheartened. And how many know that's a formula for destruction? They were disappointed, disillusioned, they were disheartened, and if they didn't do anything to change it, destruction would come. I need you to understand, I'm not just talking about David here, I'm talking to you, that if you find yourself in a position where you're disheartened and disillusioned and disappointed, you got to do something about that because destruction is just around the corner.
Yes.
And the enemy knows, thank you. In fact, it is the part of the enemy's long-standing strategy to get you to the place of these deeds.
Yes.
He will wait you out until just the right moment, the right situation, or the right timing, and then he strikes. He knows that everybody has a weakness. What's yours? Did you hear me? Everybody.
Yes.
Kryptonite. Everybody has a weakness.
Yes.
Achilles heel. Everybody has a weakness. What's yours? The enemy will wait until he identifies your area of weakness, and then he strikes. David was a mighty warrior. He had many victories. He was confident and resilient. But this thing right here hit him so hard till the one who slayed giants is down. The one who fought lions and bears have nothing left. And he's laying down on the mat and the referee is laying on the mount counting. David is discouraged.
Hallelujah. Come on. Hallelujah.
David is disillusioned. David's heart has been broken. David is now disconnected from his courage. When did it happen? He's courageous, but now he's disconnected from courage. When Didn't leave. How did it happen? That he became so disconnected. I mean, he had it when he started returning home from battle. He fought the Gerishites, he had courage. He fought the Gezrites, he had courage. He fought the Kenites, he had courage. He fought them in the battle against the Amalekites over there, and he had courage. And now he's leaving the battle with the victory, and he comes home, and the victory and the courageous spirit that he had left. Because you need to understand, sometimes you're just one knock, one blow, one step from being separated from the thing about who you are. When he got home, he lost his courage. Now that's another message for another day. But sometimes the place that should build you up might be the place that pulls you down. What do you do when the place that should build you up tears you down? But the place that should make you be courageous makes you feel in fear. Another message for another day. How do you turn your home into a haven? David is discouraged and he has no one to talk to about his discouragement. No one to share with it. I didn't watch them die, so I can't keep time this. No one to talk to about how he feels. And his disappointment is working against him. I wonder if you find yourself working against yourself. This thing called disillusionment, disheartenment by his own predicament. He wonders if any of it was true. Maybe everything in my life was a lie. Maybe I'm not that great. Sound familiar? And y'all remember, now let's go to maybe the third week. Y'all remember Rocky 3? I'm going to bring a Rocky every now and again. Rocky 3, Rocky had to go up against Clubber Lang. Y'all know, played by Mr. T. And Mr. T challenged Rocky to a title match, and he called Rocky weak. He said to him that you never really fought a real fighter. He says to him that all of your fights were staged, they were set up. That Nick, your manager, handpicked folk who were weak, who he knew that you could beat. And those words drove a spike in the heart of Rocky. Baby, it's all a lie. Maybe I fought against, what was that? Hulk Hogan. And he was doing all the stuff here. And we fought against, what was that? Apollo Creed. We fought against all these boxers, and we stayed in the battle, we stayed in the ring, and we endured round after round. We took punch after punch and blow after blow. And now Rocky is saying, baby, it's all a lie. Maybe I'm not really the world champion. Maybe I'm not really that great. Maybe it was all a farce. Maybe it was all just a masquerade. Maybe it was all staged, and mentally this thing is getting in his mind.
Yes.
It's happening. The enemy has planted the seed, doubt and discouragement. So that even the victories you once had, the victories you still have, the victories that you once celebrated for, now you believe that maybe it's all a lie. God, maybe I'm not who you said I am. Maybe, God, I've been punked. Maybe. Anybody ever felt like that? Maybe.
Amen.
This question of doubt that caused David to feel defeated. Defeated. A man with multiple victories. A man with a resume of greatness. A man with a history feels defeated. This champion of champions is now faced with defeat. But you need to understand that it is impossible for you to win every battle. It's impossible for any person to win every battle. Margaret Thatcher said, you may have to fight a battle more than once to win it. It's impossible. His heart had melted within his chest. He wept and he cried until he had nothing left. No more strength, no more energy, no more strategies for victory. This man who was the conqueror now feels like he's a defeat. This man felt the same way with one exception, that he felt like David's men felt the same way David felt, with one exception. They felt like taking out their disappointment. Oh, yeah. About to close. How y'all been blessed?
Amen.
Y'all been encouraged?
Hallelujah.
Anybody feel like you're getting your fight back?
Yes. Thank you.
Hallelujah. Anybody know that you're not the only one who had a hard time? And if God can do it for David, he can do it for you. I'm going to do my final point. I'm going to close here. We'll pick it up on next week. David's men were ready to take out their frustration and disappointment, disillusionment out on David. But the scripture said, David encouraged himself. See, when David had nobody else he could talk to, when David was down when David was being counted out and when David couldn't see what to do, David understood, because instinctively he understood he was a fighter. And sometimes as a fighter, nobody's going to be around to encourage you. You got to sometimes encourage yourself. Sometimes you can't call pastor. Sometimes you can't reach first lady. Sometimes mama won't be available. Sometimes daddy might be gone. Sometimes the person you used to call you used to call them all the time, they're not available. And you got to learn how to encourage yourself. Sometimes you gotta find encouragement on the inside of yourself, because God has put you through enough stuff so that you'll learn how to wait on Him and encourage. Sometimes we depend too much on other folk to do for us what we should be doing for ourselves.
Amen.
I feel I need to say that again. Sometimes we depend too much upon other folk to do for us what we should be doing for ourselves. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're trying to find what you need in the wrong places. You're looking for love, but you're looking in the wrong place. You want people to validate you and to approve you, but you're going all about it wrong. You need to look inward and upward and not outward. How do y'all got that? Got that? You need to look inward and upward and not outward. You trying to find what you need, but you're looking in the wrong place. And the people you're looking outward about, they sometimes make you feel like you're inferior or you're less than, and you're trying to help them to validate you, but they're in the same situation you in. You're trying to get them to approve and validate you, but they're in the same as you in. And on the surface, you say they're better than I am. They ain't no better than me. Tell your neighbor, they ain't no better than you.
They ain't no better than you.
Tell somebody else, say, they ain't no better than you.
They ain't no better than you.
Don't believe the lie. But you need to do this. Stand on your feet like that. The word says, David encouraged himself in the Lord. doesn't mean that there won't be times when other folk will pour into you and encourage you and things that. But if they don't, y'all listen. I said that doesn't mean that other folk won't pour into you and encourage you and bless you. But if they don't, if they don't validate you, if they don't make you feel like you want to feel, what if they don't?
Right.
Don't you go driving off the bridge? What if they don't? I need you to have enough in you. Hallelujah. Look at somebody say, I want you to have enough in you. It's already in you. I know God put it in you. There is an instinct, there's a fire, there's an initiative on the inside of you. God put the ability on the inside of you. He said you're the head and not the tail. You are above and not beneath. So stop letting the head act like the tail. You're the head. So if they don't validate you, they didn't create you. They didn't call you. They didn't put lungs in your chest and air within it to pump you. They don't put the blood that's running warm in your vein. If they don't, so what? Because you can't defeat me anyway. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. So if they don't, you know, say if they don't, what are you going to do? Answer the question. I'm going to encourage myself. They never tell you you're cute. Look in the mirror and say, girl, you show cute up in here. Hallelujah. Yeah, you got it going on. If they don't. Grab one person by the hand. I want you to look them in the face and I want you to grab a partner. Come on, somebody grab Sister Lisa over here. She's very dead and give up connection. I want you to look in your eyes.
Look in your eyes.
Look in your eyes. Look in your eyes. Don't you kick somebody. Just kick somebody. Stop going back and forth. Kick somebody. In your eyes. Tell them what if they don't.
What if they don't?
Tell them it's in you.
It's in you.
That you encourage yourself.
Encourage yourself.
Tell them, say, I see a warrior in you.
I see a warrior.
You ain't no wimp, you're a warrior.
You ain't no warrior.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. You ain't no wimp. You ain't no wuss.
You ain't no wuss.
You're a warrior.
You're a warrior.
And warriors war.
Hallelujah.
So dress for it. Go to war.
Go to war.
Do what you know to do. Warriors, we war. We worship. We pray. We intercede. We call out the devil. We bind the sickness. We rebuke the enemy. We declare who we are. We know what the word of God says.